I was frosting the final layer of the birthday cake when my phone rang. The screen showed it was my husband, Derek. He should have been at the architecture firm finishing up blueprints for the Henderson project. "Hey," I answered, wiping buttercream from my fingers onto my apron. "Natalie, I need to tell you something." Derek's voice was steady, almost businesslike. "This Saturday, I'm taking everyone to Miami for Thanksgiving week. I already bought the tickets and booked the beach house." My hand froze mid-wipe. The piping bag in my other hand squeezed too hard, sending a ribbon of chocolate frosting across the counter. "Everyone?" "Yeah, my parents, my sister Chelsea and her husband Brandon, my uncle Robert, and the twins. That's 8 people total." I set down the spatula carefully, my fingers leaving sticky prints on the granite. This was the 4th time. 4th year of our marriage. 4th Thanksgiving I wasn't invited to. The kitchen suddenly felt too small, too warm, despite the November chill outside. "The beach house you rented," I said slowly, keeping my voice even despite the tightness growing in my chest. "How many bedrooms?" 3. "Look, Nat, with that many people, it's going to be crowded, and I know you're not really a beach person anyway. You hate the sun, remember? You can stay home, relax, catch up on your reading, maybe binge that show you've been talking about." I looked at the elaborate chocolate cake on the counter. Derek's favorite. German chocolate with coconut pecan filling between 3 perfect layers. The recipe had taken me months to perfect. I'd spent 4 hours on it this afternoon for his birthday dinner tonight, which was supposed to start in 2 hours. "Right," I heard myself say, my voice sounding distant and hollow. "Well, have a great time." "I knew you'd understand. You're always so easygoing about these things. That's what I love about you, Nat. No drama." Relief flooded his voice like water breaking through a dam. "Oh, and while I'm gone, can you take my car in for an oil change? It's overdue. And the inspection sticker expires this month, so get that done too. The appointment card should be in the glove compartment." "Sure." "Thanks, babe. Don't wait up tonight. I've got a client dinner that'll probably run late. You know how these developer types are. They want to discuss every beam and window placement over drinks." The line went dead before I could respond. I stood there in our kitchen in Portland, Oregon, staring at the cake that would never be eaten. The dinner I'd planned that would go to waste. Roasted chicken with herbs, garlic mashed potatoes, roasted Brussels sprouts with bacon, fresh rolls from the bakery down the street. His favorites? All of them. The 4th time. 4 years of marriage, and I'd never been included in a single family holiday. Not one. Year 1, the excuse was that I just started my new job as a graphic designer at Morrison Creative and couldn't take time off during the busy season. They were right. I couldn't. But they could have scheduled around it. They didn't. Year 2, his grandmother was sick with pneumonia, and they didn't want too many people overwhelming her at the family gathering in Phoenix. That made sense, I told myself, even as I spent Christmas alone eating takeout Chinese food. Year 3, the rental cabin in Aspen was too small and they'd already committed to the booking months in advance. "Next year," Derek had promised. "Next year, we'll make sure there's room." This year, he didn't even bother with a real excuse. I wasn't a beach person. As if that explained excluding your wife from a family holiday. I began methodically wrapping up the cake. As I pressed plastic wrap over the frosting, my hands started shaking. The wrap tore in an ugly gash across the middle. I tried again, and it tore again. Suddenly, my vision blurred, and I realized tears were streaming down my face, hot and fast, dripping onto the counter. I wiped them away angrily. I would not cry over this, not again. My phone buzzed on the counter. The family group chat, Chen family, a group I'd been added to 4 years ago but had never once been directly addressed in. Derek's mother, Patricia. "Miami, here we come. Don't forget sunscreen, everyone. Weather says it'll be 85 degrees. Can't wait for beach days and family time." A parade of excited emojis followed from everyone. Beach umbrellas, palm trees, smiley faces, cocktail glasses. Chelsea sent a gif of someone doing a cannonball into a pool. Brandon, "First round's on me at the Clevelander." "Uncle Robert, I'm bringing my fishing gear. Who wants to do a deep sea charter?" The twins, Derek's 19-year-old cousins Emma and Ethan, sent matching selfies with their plane tickets. I scrolled up through the chat history with a masochistic fascination. Hundreds of messages going back months. Plans, jokes, shared memes, photos from previous trips. Not a single one directed at me. Not a single acknowledgement that I existed, except for occasional instructions. "Patricia, 3 weeks ago. Derek's wife, can you pick up my dry cleaning on Thursday? I have a doctor's appointment." Chelsea, last month. Someone remind Derek's wife that we need the Christmas card photo by December 1st. Professional quality, please. Never Natalie. Always Derek's wife. As if I didn't have a name. I pulled up a photo album on my phone from last year. The one Derek had finally sent me after I'd asked 3 times to see pictures from their Christmas trip. Derek and his family at a ski lodge in Aspen, standing in front of a massive stone fireplace. His sister Chelsea was laughing, wrapped in a designer parka that probably cost more than my monthly salary. His dad, Richard, was holding up a mug of cocoa topped with whipped cream and a candy cane. His mother wore a cream-colored cashmere sweater, and that smile she reserved for family photos. Warm and perfect. Derek stood in the center, arm around his mother, surrounded by his entire family. 8 people total. They'd rented a cabin with 4 bedrooms. There had been room for me. They just hadn't wanted me there. That week, I'd been home alone with the flu. I'd called Derek on Christmas Day, voice hoarse and barely above a whisper, and he'd said, "Take some Dayquil and sleep it off. You'll be fine. We're about to hit the slopes. Service is spotty up here. I'll call you later, okay?" He'd hung up before I could say I love you. He called back 3 days later on his drive home and acted like nothing had happened. I sank onto the kitchen floor, my back against the cabinets. The tile was cold even through my jeans. Everything was cold. The house, the marriage, my future. How had I let it get to this point? My phone rang again, jarring me out of my spiral. FaceTime from my best friend, Maya. Her name appeared with a photo of us from college. Drunk and laughing at some party neither of us could quite remember. I quickly wiped my eyes and answered, forcing a smile that felt like cracking glass. "Hey? Em? Stop." Maya's face filled the screen, her dark eyes narrowing behind her tortoiseshell glasses. Her hair was pulled back in her usual sleek bun. She'd probably just gotten home from the law office. What happened? And don't you dare say nothing. Nothing. I was just chopping onions for dinner and... Natalie Rodriguez, I've known you since freshman year of college. That's 12 years. 12 years of seeing you at your best and your worst. Don't you dare lie to me. Your eyes get puffy in a specific way when you've been crying, and that's not from onions. The smile crumbled like the cake I'd probably end up throwing away. Derek's taking everyone to Miami for Thanksgiving. There was a pause. Everyone except you. It wasn't a question. He said it would be too crowded. 8 people in a 3-bedroom house is apparently too many, but 7 is just right. Maya's expression hardened in that way that meant she was switching into lawyer mode. And you're okay with this? What choice do I have? You have every choice, Nat. You always have a choice. She shifted, and I could see she was sitting at her kitchen island, a glass of red wine next to her laptop. These people don't see you as family. You know that, right? You're the maid they don't have to pay. You're the convenient wife who makes Derek look good at firm events and handles all the boring adult stuff while he gets to play the successful architect with his perfect family. That's not, I started, but the words died in my throat because I couldn't finish the sentence. That's not true? But it was. That's not fair? But it was fair. It was the truth, and the truth is often unfair. When's the last time they invited you anywhere? Maya pressed, her voice gentle now but insistent. When's the last time Derek's mother called you by your actual name instead of Derek's wife, or dear, or just not addressing you at all? I opened my mouth and closed it. Patricia had never used my name, not once in 4 years. At the wedding, she'd introduced me to her friends as Derek's bride. At family dinners, she'd say Derek's wife, pass the salt. At the firm's holiday party last year, she'd literally introduced me to the senior partner as one of Derek's associates. The memory of that moment washed over me. The partner's confused look, my stammered correction of, actually, I'm his wife, and Patricia's tight smile as she'd said, of course, that's what I meant. Oh God, I whispered. Maya, what am I doing? What have I been doing? You've been trying to make a marriage work with someone who checked out a long time ago, if he was ever checked in to begin with. Maya's voice was firm. Nat, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. When's the last time Derek told you he loved you? And I mean really said it, not just signed off a text with love you out of habit. I thought back. Weeks? Months? I couldn't remember. The realization hit me like cold water. You signed a prenup, right? Maya's tone shifted, becoming more clinical. I nodded, feeling numb. 6 weeks before the wedding, Derek had presented me with a thick legal document, maybe 30 pages. Family tradition. He'd explained over dinner at that Italian place he liked. My dad insists on it for all his sons. He did it with my mom. My uncle did it with my aunt. It's what we do. It doesn't mean I don't trust you. I'd signed it to prove I wasn't marrying him for his money. The firm, Chen & Associates, was successful. They specialized in high-end residential and commercial architecture, had won awards, had been featured in Architectural Digest twice. But I had my own career. I'd worked hard to build my reputation as a graphic designer. I didn't need his wealth. At least, that's what I told myself at the time. The condo, Maya continued, pulling me back to the present. That's in your name, right? Yeah. My parents gave us the down payment as a wedding gift. $80,000. We registered it in my name only because they gave it specifically to me, and Derek agreed that made sense. I remembered that conversation, how reasonable he'd seemed, how grateful. Keep it that way, Maya said, and something in her voice made my stomach drop. Nat, I need you to hear me. Something's not right about this marriage. The separate holidays, the way his family treats you, the fact that you basically live separate lives despite living in the same house. None of this is normal. After we hung up, I sat at the living room window for a long time, watching the rain come down. The streetlights cast orange halos in the mist, and the streets were empty except for the occasional car passing by, headlights cutting through the gloom. It was a typical Portland November evening. Gray, wet, cold. Derek had insisted we buy this condo when we got married. It was in the Pearl District, an upscale neighborhood I'd loved from the moment we'd first toured it. Modern building, floor-to-ceiling windows, exposed brick walls, concrete floors. My parents had been incredibly generous with the down payment. My father had inherited some money when my grandmother passed, and they'd wanted to invest it in my future. I'd covered another $45,000 in renovation costs from my savings. Years of careful budgeting, of taking on extra freelance projects, of saying no to vacations and nice clothes. We'd redone the kitchen with quartz countertops and professional-grade appliances. We'd refinished the floors. We'd updated both bathrooms with new tile and fixtures. Derek's family had contributed $10,000 toward the furniture, then demanded his name be added to the deed. For appearances, Richard had said over dinner at their house, while Patricia nodded along. A man needs to have his name on the property. People talk, you know? Clients might think it's odd if Derek doesn't have his name on his own home. Like an idiot, I'd agreed. I'd wanted to be the good daughter-in-law. I'd wanted them to accept me. 4 years later, I was still waiting for that acceptance. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Our bedroom was on the second floor, with skylights that usually showed the stars, but tonight showed only darkness and rain. Derek never came home. He texted at 11 p.m. Client dinner running late, crashing at the office. See you tomorrow. The office had a couch, but no shower. No change of clothes. I'd been there once, maybe twice. It didn't seem like a place you'd choose to sleep unless you were avoiding home. Unless you were avoiding me. I stared at the ceiling, counting the hairline cracks in the plaster that had appeared over the years, following them like a map to nowhere. Did I really want to stay in this marriage? The question felt both terrifying and liberating at the same time. For 4 years, I'd bent over backward to be the perfect wife. I'd learned to cook Derek's favorite meals, his mother's pot roast recipe, his grandmother's apple pie, the specific way he liked his coffee, with just a splash of cream and 1 sugar. I'd attended every firm party, wearing the dresses he picked out, smiling until my face hurt, making small talk with clients and partners about projects I knew nothing about. I'd put up with his sister Chelsea's passive-aggressive comments about my little freelance thing when I worked full-time as a senior designer at a respected agency. I'd listened to his mother critique everything from my cooking to my housekeeping to my career choices. I'd spent holidays alone while they posted pictures of their perfect family gatherings, always with one person conspicuously absent. What had I gotten in return? Exclusion from every family gathering, a husband who was never home, holidays spent alone, a growing sense that I was living as a ghost in my own life, present but unseen, there but not acknowledged. My phone lit up on the nightstand, a text from Derek. Hey, can you pick up a gift for my mom before Saturday? Something nice, like a Hermes scarf, or maybe that Tory Burch bag she was looking at. Charge it to your card, I'll pay you back. You know what she likes better than I do. I stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then it lit up again with another message. Derek, actually, get something for Chelsea too. She's been stressed with the new baby. Maybe a spa package? Whatever you think. Thanks, babe. You're the best. The screen went dark again. I watched my reflection in the black glass. A hollow-eyed woman I barely recognized stared back at me. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, like a thread breaking after too much tension. I typed back, no, just that. One word, 2 letters. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again, then disappeared again. I could almost see Derek staring at his phone, confused, maybe thinking he'd misread my message. What do you mean, no? Exactly what I said, no. Nat, don't be difficult. You know my mom has expensive taste, and you're better at picking out gifts. I'm swamped with the Henderson project. I don't have time to shop. Then you buy it. What's gotten into you? I almost laughed at that. What had gotten into me? What had taken 4 years to get into me? Me, I'm tired, Derek. That's what's gotten into me. We'll talk about this when I get home. Me, will you though? You're never home. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times, then stopped. No more messages came through. I turned off my phone and rolled over, pulling the comforter up to my chin. For the first time in 4 years, despite everything, I slept soundly, deeply, dreamlessly, like I'd finally stopped fighting against a current that had been pulling me under. The next morning, I woke to 17 missed calls and 32 text messages. They started apologetic, then confused, then angry, then almost desperate. I deleted them all without reading them past the first few words of each preview. I showered, taking my time, using the expensive body wash I usually saved for special occasions. I dried my hair, put on makeup, dressed in my favorite blazer, emerald green, the one Derek always said was too bright for me, and dark jeans. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. She looked tired, yes, but she also looked determined. I called Maya at 9 a.m. sharp. Are you free today? I asked without preamble. I need legal advice. There was a brief pause, then, I'll clear my schedule. Can you be at my office at 10? I'll be there at 9:45. I arrived at Maya's office building at 9:40, a sleek glass tower in downtown Portland. Her firm, Brennan & Associates, occupied the 20th through 23rd floors. Maya was a corporate lawyer specializing in mergers and acquisitions, but she knew enough about family law to point me in the right direction. She was waiting in her office when I arrived, door already open. 2 coffees sat on her desk, both from the cafe we'd spent countless hours in during college, and a box of pastries from our favorite bakery. Maya stood when she saw me. You look like shit. Thanks, I said, managing a weak smile. That's exactly what every woman wants to hear. No, I mean, you look like you haven't slept properly in weeks, maybe months. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. Sit, talk to me. I sank into the leather chair and took the coffee she offered. It was perfect, vanilla latte with an extra shot, just the way I liked it. Derek still didn't know my coffee order after 4 years of marriage, but Maya remembered from a decade ago. That small detail almost made me start crying again. I want to know my options, I said, wrapping my hands around the warm cup. If I wanted a divorce, what would I be looking at? Maya didn't look surprised. She pulled out a legal pad and a pen. Okay, let's start from the beginning. First, let's go through your assets. The condo is in your name. Originally, yes. But 6 months after we got married, Derek kept asking me to add his name to the deed. The memory came back clearly now, though I'd tried to suppress it for years. He said all his friends at the firm had their names on their properties, and he felt embarrassed when they talked about it. He said people at work were starting to comment, asking why his name wasn't on the deed to his own home. He said it made him look like he was less than, like he wasn't a real man. Maya's pen stopped moving. Her expression hardened. And you added him how? Joint tenancy? Tenancy in common? I think joint tenancy? Derek handled the paperwork. He said he'd take care of all the legal stuff, that I shouldn't worry about it. He brought the papers home one night and I just signed them. I felt stupid admitting it. I trusted him. Nat? Maya set down her pen with deliberate care. In a joint tenancy, you each own 50% of the property regardless of who paid what. If you divorce, he's entitled to half the value of the condo, even though you paid for nearly 80% of it. My stomach dropped. The coffee suddenly tasted bitter. But I paid for it. My parents gave me the down payment. I paid for the renovations. The mortgage payments come out of my account. Do you have proof? Original deed? Payment receipts? Bank statements showing wire transfers? Yes. I kept everything. I'm obsessive about keeping records. It was one of the things Derek had always teased me about. My labeled file folders, my spreadsheets tracking expenses, my habit of photographing important documents. Good, that helps, but it's still going to be complicated. In Oregon, property acquired during marriage is generally considered marital property, regardless of whose name is on the deed. The fact that you added him to the deed makes it even more complicated. Maya leaned forward, elbows on her desk. What about Derek's income? Do you know what he actually makes? I realized with a creeping sense of embarrassment that I didn't. We'd kept separate finances from day one. Derek had insisted on it. We're both adults with our own careers, he'd said. We don't need to commingle everything like our parents' generation. We trust each other. He'd told me he made around $120,000 a year as a junior partner at the firm. He gave me $200 a month for household expenses, groceries, toiletries, that kind of thing. Everything else we handled separately. I'd been paying the $2,200 monthly mortgage, the $300 utility bills, the $250 HOA fees, the $150 internet and streaming services, the homeowner's insurance, the property taxes. Derek paid for his own car, his own gas, his own clothes, and apparently nothing else. I don't have access to his accounts, I admitted. I don't even know what bank he uses. Maya's expression was carefully neutral, but I could see the concern in her eyes. Nat, in a healthy marriage, you don't necessarily need to have joint accounts, but you should at least know the basics of each other's finances, income, debts, savings, especially if you're making major purchases together. I know. My voice came out small. I know it sounds stupid now. It's not stupid. It's trusting, and he took advantage of that trust. Maya tapped her pen against the legal pad. We need to get access to his financial information, legally. In a divorce proceeding, both parties have to disclose their finances, but the sooner we know what we're dealing with, the better we can prepare. She paused, and I could see her weighing her next words carefully. Nat, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Do you have any reason to suspect infidelity? The question hung in the air between us like smoke, heavy, undeniable, toxic. Derek's late nights, the unexplained absences, the way he'd stopped touching me 6 months ago, claiming he was too stressed from work and just needed space to decompress. The way he'd moved to the guest room 3 months ago because he didn't want to wake me with his early mornings. The smell of perfume on his clothes sometimes, not my perfume. The way he'd started going to the gym 5 days a week when he'd never been particularly athletic before. I don't know, I whispered. Maybe. I've wondered, but I don't have proof. Then we need to find out. Maya's voice was gentle but firm. Do you have access to his office at home? His computer? It's usually locked. He says it's for client confidentiality. Architectural plans are proprietary, NDAs, all that. But I have a key. I'd found it years ago, left behind by the previous owners in a kitchen drawer. I'd never told Derek about it, just added it to my keychain and forgot about it. Until now. Until now. Use it, Maya said. Look, I'm not telling you to do anything illegal. It's your house, your property. You have every right to enter any room in it. If you happen to find documents that relate to marital assets or potentially fraudulent activity, you have every right to photograph them for your protection. She pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is my personal cell. If you find anything, and I mean anything, suspicious, call me immediately, day or night. And Nat? She looked at me seriously. Be careful. If Derek realizes what you're doing, there's no telling how he might react. Don't confront him until we have all the evidence we need and a solid legal strategy. After I left Maya's office, I sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my breathing. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a car alarm went off and then stopped. Was I really going to do this? Snoop through Derek's private office like some character in a bad TV movie? But was it snooping if it was my own home? My own property that I'd paid for? And what if Maya was right? What if there was something Derek was hiding? I drove home slowly, taking the long way through the city. The rain had stopped, leaving everything wet and gray. People walked dogs, pushed strollers, carried bags of groceries. Normal people living normal lives. When had my life become so abnormal that I didn't even notice anymore? Derek's car wasn't in the parking garage when I got home. No surprise there. I checked my phone. He'd finally stopped calling and texting. The last message, sent an hour ago, just said, fine, we'll talk tonight. I'll be home at 7. It was 11 a.m. I had 8 hours. I made myself a sandwich but couldn't eat it. I paced the apartment. Finally, I stood in front of Derek's office door. The door was painted a deep charcoal gray, Derek's choice. Everything in the condo was Derek's choice, I realized. The gray walls, the minimalist furniture, the abstract art that I'd never liked but he'd insisted was investment pieces. Even the dishes were what he'd wanted. Modern square plates in slate gray when I'd wanted something warmer, more colorful. When had I stopped having opinions? When had I become so small in my own home? I pulled the key from my pocket. My hand was shaking so badly it took 3 tries to get it in the lock. The door swung open silently. Derek had oiled the hinges recently. He was meticulous about home maintenance, even if he was never actually home. The office was exactly as I'd expected. Immaculate. Everything in its place. His architecture degree from the University of Oregon hung on the wall in a sleek black frame. His various awards and certifications were arranged artfully on floating shelves. The desk was glass and chrome, without a single paper out of place. A top-of-the-line computer monitor, dark and silent. Books arranged by height on built-in shelves. Mostly architecture texts, some design books, a few novels that were probably for show. It looked like a room in a magazine spread. Impersonal. Cold. Nothing like the warm, cluttered office I'd imagined having when we bought this place. A space with plants and colorful art and inspiration boards covered in fabric swatches and design samples. I started with the desk drawers, feeling like a criminal. The top one held the usual suspects. Pens, organized in a container, sticky notes in a perfect stack, paper clips in a small dish, business cards in a leather case. Everything precise. Everything controlled. The middle drawer had some old project files. I flipped through them quickly. Plans for a restaurant renovation, a residential addition, a small office building. Nothing unusual. The bottom drawer was locked. Of course it was. I searched the desk surface, checked under the monitor, felt along the underside of the desk for a key taped somewhere. Nothing. Then I remembered the small filing cabinet in the corner, a 2-drawer metal thing in matte black. I opened the top drawer. More files, tax returns going back 7 years, insurance documents, the deed to the condo. I pulled that out and looked at it closely. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The deed listed the owners as Derek Chen and Natalie Rodriguez, joint tenants with right of survivorship, 50-50 ownership. But I pulled out my phone and found the photo I'd taken of the original deed, the one from when we'd first registered the property. I'd photographed it for our records, scanning all our important documents into a cloud storage folder. The original clearly stated, Natalie Rodriguez, 70% ownership. Derek Chen, 30% ownership. Tenancy in common. Someone had changed it. Someone had filed false paperwork with the county. My hands started shaking so badly I had to set down the deed. I took several deep breaths, trying to calm down, trying to think clearly. Under the tax returns, I found a small silver key. It looked like it might fit the locked desk drawer. It did. Inside the locked drawer was a leather portfolio, the kind executives carry to important meetings. High-end, probably Italian leather. I opened it with trembling fingers. Bank statements. Multiple accounts. The first was a checking account with Chase Bank. The current balance was $847,393.62. $847,000. Not the $30,000 Derek had mentioned once in passing. I flipped through the statements. Regular deposits from Chen and Associates. His salary, apparently around $145,000 a year, not the $120,000 he told me. But there were other deposits too. Large ones. Transfers from accounts I didn't recognize. And withdrawals. Regular payments of $2,000 to $8,000 to someone named Lauren Mitchell, sometimes twice a month. Going back at least 2 years based on the statements in the folder. I photographed every page with shaking hands. There were investment accounts, a Vanguard account with $234,000, a Fidelity account with $156,000, a Schwab account with $89,000. Derek was worth well over $1 million, and he'd let me struggle to pay the mortgage every month on my $65,000 salary while he gave me $200 for groceries. I kept digging. Credit card statements, an American Express card I'd never seen with charges at expensive restaurants, high-end clothing stores, jewelry stores, Tiffany & Co., Cartier, a charge for $3,200 at a luxury hotel in Miami from last March. Another for $5,600 at a resort in Cabo from last summer. Flights to cities I'd never heard him mention. At the bottom of the portfolio was a jewelry receipt folded in half. I opened it carefully. Tiffany & Co., 1 diamond tennis bracelet, 5 carats total weight. Purchase price $18,500. Purchase date November 3rd of last year. My birthday. November 3rd was my birthday. My birthday gift last year had been a bouquet of grocery store flowers and a card that said "Happy Birthday, Love Derek" in handwriting that didn't look like his. He'd probably had his assistant buy it and sign it for him, but he'd spent $18,000 on a diamond bracelet. For someone who wasn't me. Under the receipt was a photograph, and when I saw it, something inside me died and was simultaneously reborn. Derek and a woman I'd never seen before. Blonde hair, very tan, beautiful in that effortless way that spoke of money and good genes. They were at a beach, wearing matching swimsuits, his board shorts and her bikini both in a distinctive turquoise pattern. They were holding tropical drinks and laughing at the camera. His arm was around her waist. Her head was tilted toward him in a way that spoke of intimacy, of comfort, of belonging. On the back of the photo, in Derek's architectural, precise handwriting. Lauren and me, Miami Beach. Best week ever. March 2023. March 2023. 15 months ago, the week he told me he was at a mandatory architecture conference in Seattle. The week I'd been home alone, working on a big project for a difficult client, barely sleeping. The week he'd been with her. I sat down in Derek's expensive office chair, ergonomic, leather, probably cost more than my monthly salary, and stared at the photograph. I should have felt devastated. I should have been crying. Instead, I felt nothing. A strange, cold emptiness. Then my phone buzzed, making me jump. A text from Derek. Heading home early. Need to talk. Be there in 30 minutes. I flew into motion, photographing everything as quickly as I could. Every bank statement, every credit card bill, every receipt, the forged deed, the photograph. I uploaded them all to Maya's secure email, then to my personal cloud storage, then to a flash drive I kept in my purse. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it, using my phone to take reference photos of the original positions. Locked the desk drawer, replaced the key in the filing cabinet, closed the portfolio, made sure everything was exactly as it had been. I closed the office door behind me, locked it, and pocketed the key. My heart was racing so fast I felt dizzy. I went downstairs, sat on the couch, picked up my laptop, and opened a design project I'd been working on. Just a normal afternoon. Nothing unusual, just working from home like always. Derek arrived 25 minutes later. I heard his key in the lock, his footsteps in the entryway. He appeared in the living room doorway, looking stressed. His hair was messy, his tie loosened, his shirt wrinkled. He looked like he'd been running his hands through his hair repeatedly, a nervous habit I'd noticed years ago. "Hey," he said, his voice cautious. "We need to talk about last night." I looked up from my laptop, keeping my expression neutral. "About what?" "About you refusing to buy gifts for my family. About you being weird and cold." He came further into the room, hands in his pockets. "Nat, what's going on? This isn't like you. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think you do." He blinked, clearly not expecting that response. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means exactly what it sounds like." I closed my laptop. "Derek, when's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you asked me about my work, my life, my feelings? I ask you all the time." "No, you don't. You ask me to do things for you, pick up your dry cleaning, take your car in, buy gifts for your family. That's not the same thing." Derek's jaw tightened. "I've been under a lot of stress at work. The Henderson project is massive, and if we land it, you're always under stress at work. There's always a massive project. There's always a reason why you can't be present." I stood up, surprised by my own calm. "I'm tired, Derek. I'm tired of being invisible in my own marriage." "You're not invisible. Don't be dramatic. Your family is going to Miami for Thanksgiving without me. For the 4th year in a row, I'm being excluded from family holidays. And when I don't immediately agree to buy expensive gifts for the people who treat me like I don't exist, you come home angry and tell me I'm being difficult." Derek's face flushed. "My family doesn't treat you badly. You're being oversensitive. They include you in things all the time." "Name one. Name one thing your family has included me in this year." He opened his mouth and closed it. "They invited you to my mom's birthday dinner. That was 2 years ago, and your mother spent the entire night telling Chelsea how lucky she was to have married a man with old-fashioned values, while looking pointedly at me every time she said it. You're twisting things. Am I? Your mother has never called me by my name. Not once. I'm always Derek's wife or dear or just not addressed at all. That's just how she is with everyone. It's not, and you know it. She calls Chelsea by her name. She calls your cousins by their names. Just not me. I picked up my laptop. I'm done with this conversation. I have work to do. Natalie? His voice hardened. We're not done talking about this. Yes, we are. You want to go to Miami? Go to Miami. Have a wonderful time. I'll be here, like always, taking care of everything you can't be bothered with. I walked past him toward the stairs. He grabbed my arm, not hard, but firm enough to stop me. Don't walk away from me when we're having a discussion. I looked down at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. Let go of me. Something in my voice must have gotten through to him because he released me immediately, looking almost shocked at himself. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... I know what you meant. I continued up the stairs without looking back. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. You can have the master. I heard him call my name, but I closed the guest room door behind me and locked it. Then I sat on the bed and finally let myself shake. I pulled out my phone and texted Maya. Found everything. Worse than we thought. Can you talk tomorrow morning? Her response came within seconds. 9 a.m. my office. Are you safe? Me? Yes. He's leaving for Miami on Saturday. I'll be fine until then. If you need to leave before that, call me. I have a guest room. I'm serious, Nat. I know. Thank you. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the guest room bed, the mattress Derek had picked out because it was on sale, not because it was comfortable, and stared at the ceiling. Down the hall, I could hear Derek moving around in the master bedroom. At one point, I heard him on the phone, his voice low and urgent, though I couldn't make out the words. Calling Lauren, probably. Warning her that his wife was acting strangely, planning their Miami vacation that would happen right under his family's noses. At some point near dawn, exhaustion finally took over, and I fell into a fitful sleep filled with dreams of drowning, of calling for help while people on the shore turned their backs. The next morning, I woke to an empty house. Derek had left early, probably to avoid another confrontation. There was a note on the kitchen counter in his precise handwriting. We'll talk when I get back from Miami. In the meantime, please don't do anything rash. I love you. I love you. 3 words that meant nothing coming from him anymore. I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. At 9 a.m. sharp, I was back in Maya's office. She took one look at me and ordered her assistant to hold all calls. Show me what you found, she said. I pulled up the photos on my phone and handed it to her. She scrolled through them in silence, her expression growing darker with each image. Holy shit, she finally said. Nat, this is bad. Not bad for you, bad for him. This is fraud, asset concealment, possibly forgery. The forged deed alone could land him in serious legal trouble. What do I do? Maya set down my phone. First, we document everything. I'm going to send these to our forensic accountant. We need to trace every dollar, every transfer, every hidden account. Second, we file for divorce immediately. And third, she paused. Third, we consider filing a police report for the forged deed. That's not just a civil matter, Nat. That's a crime. I don't want to send him to jail, I said quietly. I just want out. I just want what's mine. I understand. But you need to understand something too. Derek has been systematically defrauding you for years. He's hidden assets, forged legal documents, and used marital funds to support an affair. Even if you don't want criminal charges, you need that leverage. Trust me on this. She pulled out a legal pad and started making notes. Tell me everything you know about Lauren Mitchell. Just what was in the photos and statements. He's been sending her money for at least 2 years, maybe longer. We'll find her. And Nat, when we do, she might be called to testify. Are you prepared for that? For the details of their affair to come out? I thought about it. A year ago, even a month ago, the idea would have devastated me. Now I just felt tired. Yes, I want the truth out there. All of it. Maya nodded approvingly. Good. That's the spirit. Now, let's talk strategy. We spent the next 3 hours planning. Maya brought in a colleague who specialized in family law, a sharp-eyed woman named Rebecca Chen. No relation to Derek, she assured me with a wry smile. Together, they outlined the process. File for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences and adultery. Request a temporary restraining order on all marital assets to prevent Derek from hiding more money. Subpoena his bank records, credit card statements, and financial documents. Hire a forensic accountant to trace the money trail. And most importantly, secure my ownership of the condo. The forged deed is actually going to work in your favor, Rebecca explained. If we can prove he filed false documents with the county, that deed is void. We revert to the original ownership split, 70-30. And given his fraud, we can argue he should get nothing at all. Can we really do that? We can try, and given the evidence you've collected, we have a very strong case. Rebecca leaned forward. Miss Rodriguez, I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to get ugly. Derek is going to fight back. His family will likely hire an expensive lawyer and try to drag this out, make it as painful as possible. Are you prepared for that? I thought about 4 years of holidays alone, 4 years of being invisible, 4 years of paying for everything while Derek hid his wealth and spent it on another woman. Yes, I said firmly. I'm prepared. Then let's do this, Maya said, and there was something fierce in her smile. The next few days passed in a blur. While Derek was in Miami, presumably with Lauren parading as his girlfriend in front of his clueless family, I was meeting with lawyers, accountants, and investigators. Maya's forensic accountant, a meticulous man named Howard, dug into Derek's finances with the enthusiasm of an archaeologist discovering a new tomb. Within 2 days, he'd found more than I'd ever imagined. Derek had opened the accounts shortly after we'd gotten engaged. He'd been systematically moving money into hidden accounts for years. The payments to Lauren had started 18 months into our marriage. He'd bought her the Miami Beach house, $420,000, paid in cash. He'd bought her a car, a Mercedes, $67,000. He'd been paying her rent on an apartment in downtown Portland, $2,800 a month for the past 2 years. Your husband has spent approximately $743,000 on his mistress, Howard said, adjusting his glasses as he showed me the spreadsheet he'd created. That's money that should have been marital assets. In Oregon, that's considered dissipation of marital assets. You're entitled to reimbursement. $750,000. While I'd been skipping lunches to save money for the mortgage payment, the investigator Maya hired found Lauren Mitchell easily. She worked as a marketing consultant, though her LinkedIn profile was vague about what that actually meant. She lived in a luxury apartment in the Pearl District, only 6 blocks from our condo. She drove the Mercedes I'd seen referenced in Derek's bank statements. She posted frequently on Instagram, glamorous photos of her travels, her dinners at expensive restaurants, her designer handbags. Many of the photos had been taken at locations I recognized from Derek's credit card statements. There she was at the restaurant where Derek claimed to have client dinners. There she was at the resort where he'd supposedly been at a work retreat. There she was on the beach in Cabo during his conference. The investigator found photos of them together at various Portland establishments, laughing over drinks at a downtown bar, walking hand in hand through Tom McCall Waterfront Park, kissing in front of Powell's bookstore. They hadn't even been particularly careful. They just trusted that I was too naive or too busy to notice. They were right for a long time, but not anymore. On Friday, the day before Derek was due back from Miami, Rebecca filed the divorce petition. We filed it late in the afternoon, timing it so the process server could deliver it to Derek at the airport when he landed on Saturday evening. We also filed an emergency motion to freeze all of Derek's assets, citing evidence of fraud and asset dissipation. The judge granted it within hours. By the time Derek's plane touched down at PDX, every one of his bank accounts was frozen. His credit cards were suspended. Even his access to the firm's accounts was temporarily blocked, pending investigation. I wasn't there to see him get served with the papers, but the process server sent Maya a confirmation text. Delivered. Subject was not pleased. That was an understatement, I'd learn later. I spent that Saturday at Maya's apartment. She'd insisted I stay there, at least for the weekend, in case Derek came home angry. Her guest room was cozy, nothing like the sterile aesthetic of the condo, with warm yellow walls and a comfortable bed and books everywhere. We ordered Thai food and watched terrible reality TV, and for a few hours I almost felt normal. Then my phone started ringing. Derek. I didn't answer. He called 17 times in an hour. Then the text started. What the fuck, Natalie? You froze my accounts? Are you insane? Call me right now. My lawyer says this is illegal. You can't do this. You're gonna regret this. I can't even pay for a cab home. Do you know how humiliating this is? Call me. I showed the messages to Maya. She read them with a grim expression. Don't respond. Let him rage. These texts are actually helpful. They show his state of mind. Keep them all. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. Natalie, this is Patricia. Derek's mother's voice was cold as ice. What exactly do you think you're doing to my son? Hello, Patricia. I'm following the advice of my attorney. If you have questions about the legal proceedings, you should contact my lawyer. Legal proceedings? You're destroying his life over nothing. He told me you've been acting crazy, and now I see he was right. Something snapped inside me. 4 years of biting my tongue, of being polite, of accepting her dismissal and disdain. Your son has been having an affair for years. He's spent over $700,000 on his mistress. He forged legal documents to steal my property. And you're calling to defend him? There was shocked silence on the other end. Derek wouldn't. You're lying. I have bank statements, receipts, photographs, and a trail of evidence that would make a forensic accountant weep with joy. Your son is a liar and a fraud. And for the record, my name is Natalie. Use it. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, but it felt good. It felt right. That was beautiful. Maya said, raising her wine glass in a toast. You're finally finding your voice. My phone rang again. Derek's sister this time. I sent it to voicemail. Then his father. Voicemail. Then an unknown number that was probably Derek calling from someone else's phone. Voicemail. Finally, I turned off my phone. How long can we keep his assets frozen? I asked Maya. The emergency order is good for 2 weeks. Then we have a hearing. But given the evidence, I expect the judge will extend it until the divorce is finalized. How long will that take? Depends on how much Derek wants to fight. If he agrees to mediation and a settlement, maybe 6 months. If he wants to drag it out in court, she shrugged. Could be a year or more. A year. A year of limbo, of legal battles, of Derek's family harassing me, but also a year of freedom. A year of rebuilding. A year of becoming myself again. I can handle it, I said, and I meant it. The preliminary hearing was on a Wednesday, 10 days after Derek had been served. The courthouse was downtown, all modernist architecture in glass and concrete. Rebecca met me outside, professional in a tailored navy suit. How are you holding up? She asked. I'm okay. Nervous, but okay. That's November. Don't let them provoke you. Stay calm, stay factual, and let me do the talking. We walked through security and up to the family law courtrooms on the 3rd floor. Derek was already there with his lawyer, a silver-haired man in an expensive suit who looked like he charged $600 an hour. Derek's parents sat behind him, his mother clutching a designer handbag like a shield, his father looking stern and uncomfortable. Derek wouldn't meet my eyes. He looked terrible, gaunt, exhausted, wearing a suit that looked like he'd slept in it. Good. The hearing lasted 90 minutes. Rebecca methodically presented our evidence. The forged deed, the hidden bank accounts, the payments to Lauren, the property purchased in Lauren's name. She had blown up copies of Derek's bank statements, credit card receipts, even printouts of Lauren's Instagram posts. Derek's lawyer tried to argue that the relationship with Lauren had started after our separation, a separation I knew nothing about. He claimed the hidden accounts were for tax purposes. He suggested the deed change was a clerical error at the county office. Judge Morrison, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, wasn't buying it. Mr. Chen, she said, her voice cutting through his lawyer's explanations, the evidence presented here suggests a pattern of deception spanning several years. Can you explain why you failed to disclose these accounts to your wife? Derek stood up, trying to look contrite. Your Honor, I can explain. I'm not interested in explanations at this moment. I'm interested in facts. She looked at the documents spread before her. Mrs. Rodriguez paid for 70% of the marital residence. You then allegedly filed documents changing the ownership to 50-50 without her knowledge. Is that correct? Derek's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, my client maintains that was a mutual decision. I have the original deed right here, Rebecca interjected smoothly. Filed 3 months after the marriage, clearly stating 70-30 ownership, tenancy in common. The altered deed was filed 6 months later. The signature on the altered document doesn't match Mrs. Rodriguez's signature on other legal documents. We're prepared to call a handwriting expert if necessary. The judge examined both deeds carefully. I'm going to order the county recorder to investigate this discrepancy. If there's evidence of document fraud, this court will refer the matter to the district attorney. Derek's face went pale. Furthermore, Judge Morrison continued, I'm extending the asset freeze for another 60 days. Mr. Chen, you will provide full financial disclosure, all accounts, all assets, all debts, within 2 weeks. Failure to comply will result in sanctions. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Derek mumbled. Mrs. Rodriguez, you will have continued exclusive use of the marital residence. Mr. Chen, you are to stay away from the property unless arranged through your attorneys. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down with a sharp crack that sounded like finality. Outside the courtroom, Rebecca put a hand on my shoulder. That went very well. Judge Morrison clearly sees through his bullshit. What happens now? Now we wait for his financial disclosure. Once we have that, we can calculate exactly what you're owed. Given the evidence, I'd say you're looking at keeping the condo entirely, plus significant compensation for the dissipated assets. As we walked toward the elevator, I heard raised voices behind us. I turned to see Derek arguing with his parents in the hallway. His mother was crying. His father looked like he wanted to hit something. Derek caught me looking and broke away from his parents, striding toward me. Rebecca stepped between us. Mr. Chen, you need to stay back. I just want to talk to my wife. Your soon-to-be ex-wife, Rebecca corrected. And all communication goes through attorneys now. Natalie, please. Derek's voice cracked. Please, just give me 5 minutes. Let me explain. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in weeks. This man I'd loved, or thought I'd loved. This man I'd built a life with, or tried to. He looked desperate and pathetic, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a vast indifference. There's nothing to explain, Derek. You made your choices, now live with them. I turned and walked away, Rebecca beside me. Behind us, I heard Derek call my name again, but I didn't look back. In the elevator, Rebecca said quietly, that took strength. It didn't feel like strength. It just felt like relief. Sometimes they're the same thing. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings, document reviews, and depositions. Derek's financial disclosure, when it finally came, was even worse than I'd imagined. He'd been hiding money for years, since before we'd even gotten married. The accounts I'd found were just the beginning. Howard, the forensic accountant, uncovered offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Investment accounts in his mother's name that he controlled. A property in Denver he'd bought 2 years ago as an investment, but had actually been planning to move Lauren into. The total came to just over $1.4 million in hidden assets, and he'd let me struggle to pay bills on my $65,000 salary. Why? I asked Rebecca during one of our meetings. Why go through the charade of marriage if he had all this money and was in love with someone else? Rebecca leaned back in her chair, thoughtful. My guess? Appearances. His parents? His firm? They value family, stability, tradition. A young architect trying to make partner looks better with a wife. You were window dressing. I'm sorry to be blunt, but that's what the evidence suggests. Window dressing. 4 years of my life, reduced to set decoration for Derek's career ambitions. The investigator found Lauren Mitchell and served her with a subpoena. She was being called to testify about the financial gifts she'd received from Derek during our marriage. Apparently, she didn't take it well. Her Instagram went private. Her LinkedIn profile disappeared. The investigator reported that she'd moved out of her luxury apartment suddenly, breaking her lease. Good. Let her run. Let her face consequences too. But the biggest surprise came 2 weeks later. Maya called me early on a Wednesday morning, her voice urgent. Nat, you need to see this. I'm sending you a link. I opened the link on my laptop. It was a news article from the Portland Business Journal, local architecture firm under investigation for financial irregularities. My heart sank as I read. Chen and Associates was being audited. Apparently, Derek had been doing more than just hiding personal assets. He'd been embezzling from the firm, taking client deposits, padding expense accounts, creating fake vendor invoices. The article quoted his father, Richard Chen, saying the family was shocked and devastated by the discoveries. The firm was cooperating fully with investigators. Oh my God, I breathed. There's more, Maya said. Rebecca got a call from Derek's lawyer this morning. They want to settle? Fast. Why the sudden change? Because Derek is looking at criminal charges. Fraud, embezzlement, forgery. He could go to prison, Nat, and the longer the divorce drags out, the more time prosecutors have to build their case. His lawyer wants this wrapped up so Derek can focus on his criminal defense. What are they offering? Everything. Full ownership of the condo to you. All marital assets to you. He'll agree that the original deed is valid and the altered one was fraudulent. He'll pay your legal fees. He'll sign whatever we want him to sign. It felt too easy, too good to be true. What's the catch? The catch is they want you to agree not to testify against him in the criminal proceedings. And they want a confidentiality clause. You can't talk publicly about the affair or the financial fraud. I thought about it. Part of me wanted Derek to face the full consequences of his actions. Part of me wanted to stand up in court and tell everyone what he'd done. But a bigger part of me just wanted to be done. To close this chapter and move on with my life. How long do I have to decide? They want an answer by Friday. The criminal charges are going to be filed next week. I called my parents that night and told them everything. My mother cried. My father was silent for a long time, then said, "Baby girl, whatever you decide, we support you. But don't let him off easy if you don't want to. You've earned the right to speak your truth." I thought about that. Speaking my truth. But what was my truth? That Derek had betrayed me? Yes. That he'd stolen from me? Yes. That he'd lied to me for years? Yes. But also this, that I'd grown stronger, that I'd learned my worth, that I discovered I didn't need him, didn't need his family's approval, didn't need anything except my own self-respect. And self-respect didn't require revenge. On Thursday evening, I called Rebecca. Accept the settlement, but I want one more thing. What's that? I want a written apology from Derek. Acknowledging what he did, taking full responsibility, and stating clearly that none of it was my fault. I don't care if it's private, just for me, but I want it in writing. I'll make it happen. The settlement was finalized the following week. Derek signed over the condo, full ownership, with the deed to be corrected to my name only. He agreed to repay $743,000 for the dissipated marital assets. Though given his legal troubles, I'd probably never see all of it. He agreed to pay all my legal fees, $47,000 so far. And he wrote the letter. It arrived by courier on a Tuesday afternoon. A single page, handwritten, on plain paper. Natalie, I'm writing this because my lawyer says I have to, but also because maybe I owe you this much. You deserve better than what I gave you. You deserved honesty, respect, partnership. You deserve to be seen and valued. I was a coward. I married you because it looked good, because you made me look stable and successful, because my parents approved, but I was never brave enough to be the husband you needed. I let my family exclude you. I let you carry all the financial burden while I hoarded my money. I lied to you every single day for years. Lauren was a mistake, but she wasn't the real betrayal. The real betrayal was that I never truly let you into my life. I kept you at arm's length while benefiting from your love, your work, your sacrifice. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that none of this, not the affair, not the financial fraud, not the way my family treated you, none of it was your fault. You were a good wife. I was a terrible husband. I hope you find someone who deserves you. I hope you build the life you always wanted. And I'm sorry I wasted 4 years of your life. Derek, I read it 3 times, then folded it carefully and put it in a file folder with all the other documents from the divorce. Then I closed the folder and put it in a box in the back of my closet. Some things needed to be kept, but they didn't need to be looked at again. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Tuesday in April, 6 months after I'd first walked into Maya's office and asked about my options. I didn't attend the final hearing. Rebecca handled it. I was at a coffee shop working on a logo redesign for a tech startup when my phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. It's official. You're free. I sat back in my chair and let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for years. Around me, life went on. People ordered lattes and muffins, typed on laptops, chatted with friends, lived their ordinary lives, and I was one of them again. Just Natalie Rodriguez. Not Derek's wife. Not part of the Chen family. Just myself. That night, Maya took me out to celebrate. We went to a fancy restaurant I'd always wanted to try, but Derek had said was too trendy. We ordered expensive wine and appetizers and entrees and desserts. We laughed and talked and made plans. What are you going to do now? Maya asked over creme brulee. I don't know, I admitted. Stay in Portland, maybe. Build my freelance business. Travel. Date eventually when I'm ready. Just live my life on my own terms. You could sell the condo. Buy something new. Someplace that's just yours, with no memories attached. I thought about that. The condo was paid off now. I'd used some of the settlement money to eliminate the mortgage. It was worth about $650,000 in the current market. I could sell it, buy something smaller, pocket the difference. But I'd also so much of myself into that place. The renovations, the decorating, the careful choices. Once I'd gotten rid of Derek's stuff and repainted and rearranged, it had started to feel like home. My home. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I'll stay. Reclaim it. Make it completely mine. Either way, Maya raised her glass. Here's to new beginnings. To knowing your worth, I added. To never settling for less than you deserve. We clinked glasses as rain pattered against the windows. A week later, I got a call from a headhunter. A design agency in Seattle was looking for a creative director. The salary was $95,000 a year, plus equity and full benefits. I saw your portfolio online, the headhunter said. Your work is exceptional, and I heard through the grapevine that you might be open to new opportunities. Would you be interested in interviewing? I looked around my condo. My condo in my name, paid off. Truly mine. I'd reclaimed it, made it beautiful. Sage green walls, warm wood furniture, plants everywhere. Art I actually liked. It was peaceful and lovely and completely mine. But did I want to stay in Portland? In the city where I'd spent 4 years being invisible? Where I might run into Derek, or worse, his family? Tell me more about the position, I said. The interview process was intense, 3 rounds, including a presentation to the founders and a working session with their design team. But I knew my work was good. Better than good. Without Derek's voice in my head constantly undermining me, I'd rediscovered my confidence, my creativity, my voice. I got the offer 2 weeks later. The creative director position, $95,000 salary, equity in the company, relocation assistance, start date flexible. When can you start? The CEO, an energetic woman named Jennifer, asked during our final call. I thought about it, thought about Portland and the memories embedded in every corner. Thought about starting fresh in a new city where nobody knew me as Derek's ex-wife. I need to sell my condo, I said. Give me 60 days. Take 90 if you need it. We want you, and we'll wait. I listed the condo the next week. It was hard. I'd finally made it mine, and now I was letting it go. But it also felt right. A closing of one chapter and opening of another. The place sold in 5 days. A young couple with a baby on the way fell in love with the sage green walls, the sunny kitchen, the peaceful vibe. They offered $675,000, $25,000 over asking. I accepted immediately. On my last night in Portland, Maya threw me a going-away party. Small and intimate. Just Maya, a few friends from college, my parents who drove up from Eugene, and some colleagues from my freelance work. To new beginnings, Maya raised her glass. To finding yourself, my mother added, tears in her eyes. To the woman who taught herself she was enough, my father said gruffly. We clinked glasses and ate too much food and told stories and laughed until we cried. As people were leaving, Maya pulled me aside. You know I'm proud of you, right? Not just for how you handled the divorce, but for how you're moving forward. A lot of people would have stayed stuck in anger or bitterness. But you're choosing hope. That takes guts. I learned from the best, I said, hugging her tight. Thank you for everything, Em. I literally couldn't have done this without you. You absolutely could have. You're stronger than you know, but I'm glad I got to be part of your journey. The next morning, I packed my car with the essentials. Clothes, laptop, a few favorite books, a box of photos. Everything else was either sold, donated, or in storage until I found a permanent place in Seattle. As I drove north on I-5, Portland disappearing in my rearview mirror, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Natalie? Derek's voice, rough and tired. I heard you're leaving Portland. How did you get this number? I blocked you. I'm calling from a friend's phone. Look, I wanted to say goodbye, and I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Not just for what I did, but for who I was. You deserve so much better. I was quiet for a moment, watching the highway stretch ahead. You're right, I did deserve better. But Derek, that's not on you to give me anymore. That's on me to find for myself. I know. I just needed you to know that I know I messed up. Everything that happened, the affair, the lying, the way my family treated you, it's all on me. You were always better than I deserved. I hope you figure things out, I said, and I meant it. Not for his sake, but because holding on to anger would only hurt me. I hope you learn from this. I hope your next relationship, if there is one, is honest. What about you? Do you think you'll ever trust anyone again? Yes, I said, surprised to find I meant it. Because I've learned to trust myself, and that's the foundation everything else is built on. I'm glad. You're gonna do amazing things, Natalie. I always knew you were talented. I just wish I'd told you more. Me too. Goodbye, Derek. Goodbye, and Nat, thank you for not testifying at my trial. My lawyer said it probably kept me out of prison. I hadn't known that. Some petty part of me wished I'd made a different choice, but a bigger part knew I'd done the right thing. For me, not for him. Take care of yourself, I said, and hung up. I drove for another hour, then pulled over at a rest stop. I walked to the edge of the viewing area, looking out at the Columbia River Gorge. The water sparkled in the afternoon sun, and eagles circled overhead. Everything felt vast and possible. I pulled out my phone and took a selfie. Wind-blown hair, genuine smile. The gorgeous Pacific Northwest landscape behind me. I posted it to Instagram with a simple caption, new chapter. Within minutes, comments poured in from friends I hadn't heard from in months. People who drifted away during my marriage, or whom I'd pushed away in my attempt to be the perfect wife to someone who didn't appreciate it. So proud of you. You look radiant. About time. Can't wait to hear about Seattle. I put my phone away and got back in the car. 2 hours later, the Seattle skyline emerged from the mist, the Space Needle piercing the clouds like a beacon. Elliott Bay sparkled in the emerging sunlight, and ferries crisscrossed the water like water bugs. My GPS announced, you have arrived at your destination. I pulled up to my new apartment building, a modern high-rise in the Capitol Hill neighborhood with floor-to-ceiling windows and a rooftop terrace. Maya had helped me find it remotely, and I'd signed the lease via video call without even seeing it in person. A leap of faith. As I stepped out of the car and breathed in the salt air mixed with coffee and rain, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Pure, uncomplicated hope. My phone rang. Maya, of course. Did you make it? Just pulled up. It's beautiful, Em. Good. Now go up there and start your new life. And Nat, don't forget to actually live it this time. No more making yourself small for someone else. I won't. I promise. I hauled my suitcases up to the 15th floor. The apartment was small, just a one-bedroom, but it was all mine. Hardwood floors, exposed brick, huge windows overlooking the city. I stood at the window for a long time, watching the city move below me. Tomorrow, I'd start at the design agency. Tomorrow, I'd begin building a new life. But today, right now, I just wanted to be present in this moment. The moment where everything was possible and nothing was determined yet. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother, sending you all my love, Mija. So proud of you. Then my father, you got this, kiddo. Seattle better watch out. Then Maya, wine night via Zoom this Friday. I need to hear everything. I smiled and set the phone down. Then I ordered pizza from a place down the street, opened a bottle of wine I'd packed, and sat on my empty floor watching the sunset over Puget Sound. This was my life now. Quiet, simple, mine. And it was perfect. 6 months later, the presentation was going well. I clicked to the next slide, showing our agency's growth metrics for the third quarter. The conference room was full, our entire creative team, plus clients from 3 major tech companies who were considering expanding their contracts with us. As you can see, I said, confident and clear, our integrated campaign increased user engagement by 47% and reduced customer acquisition costs by 32%. The key was understanding the audience's pain points and speaking directly to them. One of the clients, a VP from a major software company, leaned forward. And you directed this entire campaign? The strategy, the creative, the execution? My team executed it. I just made sure we were all rowing in the same direction and had the resources we needed. After the meeting, Jennifer, the CEO, pulled me aside. Nat, you crushed that. I think we're going to land all 3 accounts. It was a team effort. It was your leadership. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about something. We're opening a VP position next quarter, Vice President of Creative Strategy. You'd oversee all the creative directors, work directly with me on company vision, have equity stake in the company. Interested? I blinked. 6 months ago, I'd been barely surviving in a toxic marriage, my confidence destroyed, my career stagnating. Now I was being offered a VP position at a thriving agency. Very interested. I managed. Good. We'll talk details next week. But Nat, you've been an incredible addition to this company. Not just your work, which is outstanding, but your attitude. You lift everyone around you. That's rare. After work, I walked home through the city. Seattle in October was beautiful. Crisp air, colorful leaves, the smell of coffee and rain. I'd fallen in love with the city, with its creative energy and its embrace of authenticity. I'd made friends. Real friends, not just acquaintances who tolerated me because of my husband. There was Keiko, a UX designer at a neighboring agency who I'd met at a design conference. There was Marcus, a photographer who lived in my building, who'd invited me to join his hiking group. There was the whole crew from my Thursday night pottery class, an eclectic mix of artists, teachers, and tech workers who gathered to make mediocre bowls and drink wine. I had a life. A real, full, messy, wonderful life. My phone rang as I was unlocking my apartment door. Unknown number with a Portland area code. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Natalie, it's Chelsea, Derek's sister. I froze with my key in the lock. How did you get this number? I have my ways. Look, I'm not calling to harass you. I'm calling to apologize. That was unexpected. Okay, I was awful to you. We all were. Mom, Dad, me. We treated you like you weren't good enough for Derek, like you were this outsider we had to tolerate. And the whole time, Derek was the one who... She paused. I didn't know about Lauren. None of us did. When it all came out, when we found out what he'd been doing, the lying, the stealing from the firm, all of it, I realized how badly we'd misjudged everything. Why are you telling me this now? Because I just had my second baby. A girl. And I was lying there in the hospital, holding her, and I thought about the kind of women I want her to grow up around. Women with strength and integrity. Women who don't take crap from anyone, not even family. Women like you. I didn't know what to say. After a moment, Chelsea continued. Derek's in therapy now. Did you know that? Court ordered, but still. He's working through a lot of stuff. And one of the things he's had to confront is how our family enabled him, how we always made excuses for him, always blamed other people for his problems. We blamed you when he was miserable, but it was never your fault. No, I agreed quietly. It wasn't. I don't expect you to forgive me, or any of us. I just wanted you to know that we know we were wrong, and I'm sorry. I'm really, genuinely sorry. Thank you for saying that, Chelsea. It means more than you probably realize. Are you happy now? In Seattle? I looked around my little apartment, at the plants I'd carefully tended, at the art on the walls, pieces I'd chosen because I loved them, not because they matched some aesthetic, at the shelf full of books I actually read, at the pottery bowl I'd made, lopsided and imperfect and mine. Yes, I said. I really am. Good. You deserve it. And Natalie? Your name is Natalie. I'm sorry I never used it. After we hung up, I stood at my window and watched the city lights come on, one by one, like stars. I thought about sending Maya a text about the weird call, but decided against it. Some things could wait. Instead, I changed into comfortable clothes, made myself a simple dinner, and settled onto my couch with a book I'd been meaning to read. Just a quiet evening at home. Nothing special. Nothing dramatic. And that was exactly what made it perfect. 1 year later. The gallery opening was packed. People mingled with wine glasses, examining the photographs on the walls. Marcus, my photographer friend, had finally gotten the solo show he'd been working toward for years. Nat, you came! He swept me into a hug. Of course I came. Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss this. Come on, let me introduce you to some people. He pulled me through the crowd, introducing me to other photographers, gallery owners, artists. I chatted easily, comfortable in my skin in a way I'd never been at Derek's firm events. Natalie, this is James, Marcus said, gesturing to a tall man with kind eyes and an easy smile. James, this is the friend I was telling you about, the designer who helped me with my portfolio layout. The one who told you to use more white space and stop being so precious about every image. James asked, laughing. That would be me, I admitted. Best advice he got. The portfolio is stunning. James extended his hand. I'm James Caldwell. I run a small publishing house here in Seattle. We focus on art books and photography collections. Natalie Rodriguez. I'm a creative director at Lighthouse Design. We talked for a while about design, about photography, about Seattle's art scene. James was smart and funny and easy to talk to. When he asked if I'd like to grab coffee sometime to discuss a potential project, I said yes without overthinking it. Great. How about Saturday morning? There's this place in Fremont that has the best almond croissants. That sounds perfect. Later, as the gallery was closing down, Kiko pulled me aside. So, James Caldwell. He's single, you know. Is he? Don't play coy. I saw you two talking. There were sparks. It was just conversation. He mentioned a work project. Uh-huh. And you just happened to be smiling like that because of work. Sure. She bumped my shoulder. Would it be so terrible if it wasn't just work? I thought about it. I'd been in Seattle for 18 months now. I'd built a life, a career, a community. I'd healed. I'd grown. I'd become someone I actually liked. Was I ready to date? To risk opening my heart again? No, I said slowly. It wouldn't be terrible. Good. Because you deserve good things, Nat. You deserve someone who sees you and values you and treats you like you matter. Maybe James is that person. Maybe he's not. But you'll never know if you don't take the chance. Saturday morning, I met James at the cafe in Fremont. We talked for 3 hours, long after our coffee had gone cold. He was divorced, no kids, had moved to Seattle 5 years ago to start his publishing house. He loved hiking and old movies and cooking elaborate meals for friends. What about you? He asked. What's your story? I gave him the abbreviated version. The marriage, the divorce, the move to Seattle, the rebuilding. He listened without judgment, without trying to fix anything, just listening. That takes courage, he said when I finished. Starting over like that. Not a lot of people would have the strength. I didn't have a choice. It was start over or stay stuck. There's always a choice. You chose the harder path because it led somewhere better. That's courage. When we finally left the cafe, he walked me to my car. Can I see you again? Not for work. Just because I'd like to see you again. I thought about Derek, about 4 years of feeling invisible. I thought about the year and a half I'd spent learning to be happy alone. I thought about risk and reward, about closing doors and opening windows. Yes, I said. I'd like that too. We saw each other again the next week, and the week after that. By November, we were officially dating. It was different from anything I'd experienced with Derek. James actually listened when I talked. He asked about my work and remembered the details. He introduced me to his friends and included me in his plans. He used my name. For Christmas, he gave me a first edition of my favorite book, carefully wrapped, with a note that said, "For Natalie, who taught me that it's never too late to write a new chapter." I gave him a custom photo album I designed, filled with pictures from our adventures together, hiking in the Cascades, exploring Pike Place Market, attending gallery openings, cooking disasters in his kitchen. "This is beautiful," he said, paging through it carefully. "You made this?" "I'm a designer. It's what I do." "No, I mean, you made this for me. You put thought and care into creating something personal. That's..." He looked up, and his eyes were suspiciously bright. "That's the most thoughtful gift anyone's ever given me." My parents flew up for New Year's, meeting James for the first time. I'd been nervous, but I shouldn't have been. My father shook James's hand and said, "You treat my daughter right, understand?" James looked him straight in the eye. "That's my only plan, sir." After they left, my mother pulled me aside. "I like him, Mija. He looks at you like you hung the moon." "It's still early, Mom. We're taking it slow." "Smart. But Natalie, don't be so careful that you forget to actually live. You spent 4 years being careful with Derek, and look where that got you. Sometimes you have to take a leap." I thought about that conversation a lot over the next few weeks. Taking leaps. Being brave. Opening up even when it was scary. In February, James asked me to go away with him for a long weekend. A cabin in the San Juan Islands, just the two of us. I said yes. The cabin was perfect, cozy and rustic, with a fireplace and a view of the water. We spent the weekend cooking together, taking long walks on the beach, talking about everything and nothing. On the last night, sitting by the fire, James took my hand. "I need to tell you something," he said. My heart skipped. This was it. The moment where things either deepened or ended. "Okay. I'm falling in love with you. I know it's soon. I know we said we'd take things slow, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel it. You're brilliant and talented and kind, and you make me want to be better. I'm falling in love with you, and I needed you to know." I looked at him, really looked at him, at his kind eyes and his nervous smile and his hand holding mine like I was something precious. "I'm falling in love with you too," I said, "and it's terrifying because the last time I loved someone, it destroyed me. But James, with you, it feels different. It feels safe. It feels real." He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. That night, lying in bed with his arm around me and the sound of waves outside the window, I felt something I'd never felt with Derek. Peace. Complete, uncomplicated peace. 2 years later. The wedding was small, just family and close friends, 30 people total, in a garden overlooking Puget Sound. I wore a simple cream dress, no veil, flowers in my hair. James wore a navy suit and couldn't stop smiling. Maya was my maid of honor. She'd flown in from Portland, where she'd just made partner at her firm. "You look happy," she said as she helped me with my hair. "Really, truly happy." "I am. Good. That's all I've ever wanted for you." My father walked me down the aisle, and I saw James waiting at the end, his eyes bright with tears. The officiant, a friend of James's, kept the ceremony short and sweet. "Marriage is a partnership," she said. "It's two people choosing each other, every day, even on the hard days. It's seeing each other fully and loving what you see. James and Natalie, you've both been through challenges that would have broken lesser people, but you came through stronger, wiser, and ready to build something beautiful together." When it came time for vows, James went first. "Natalie, you are the strongest person I know. You've taught me that strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up. You've shown me what it means to be brave, to be honest, to be fully yourself. I promise to always see you, to always value you, to always make sure you know you matter. I promise to be your partner in every sense of the word. I promise to love you, not in spite of who you are, but because of who you are." Then it was my turn. I took a shaky breath. "James, 4 years ago, I thought love was sacrifice. I thought it meant making myself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. You've taught me that real love is different. Real love makes space for both people to grow. Real love is built on respect and honesty and genuine partnership. You see me, really see me, and you celebrate who I am instead of asking me to change. I promise to do the same for you. I promise to be your partner, your friend, your biggest cheerleader. I promise to love you with the fullness of who I am." We exchanged simple gold bands. When the officiant pronounced us married, the whole garden erupted in applause. At the reception, my mother toasted us with tears in her eyes. To my beautiful daughter, who taught herself she deserved better and then went out and found it. And to James, who is exactly what she deserves. Maya toasted next, to the strongest woman I know and to the man smart enough to appreciate her. May you have a lifetime of happiness. Later, as we were cutting the cake, I looked around at the people gathered there. My parents, beaming with pride. James's family, who'd welcomed me with open arms. Friends from Seattle, from Portland, from different chapters of my life, all coming together to celebrate this new chapter. And I realized something profound. I was surrounded by people who loved me for who I actually was, not for who they wanted me to be. That night, in our hotel room, James pulled me close. "Happy, Mrs. Caldwell?" I'd kept my name, Natalie Rodriguez, but I didn't correct him. Blissfully. "Good. That's the plan for the next 60 or 70 years. Sound okay?" "Sounds perfect." Epilogue. 5 years later, I was in my home office, the one James and I had carefully designed together in the house we bought 2 years ago, when my phone rang. Unknown Portland number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello? Natalie? It's Derek." I sat back in my chair, surprised. I hadn't heard from Derek in nearly 7 years, not since that phone call on the highway. "Derek. Hi, is everything okay?" Yeah, everything's fine. I saw the article about you in Design Week magazine, the feature on women leading creative agencies. I wanted to congratulate you. After James and I got married, I'd started my own agency. It had grown faster than I'd ever imagined. We now had 15 employees and clients across the country. The magazine feature had been unexpected, but welcome. "Thank you. That's kind of you to call." "You deserve it. You always were talented, even if I never said it enough." He paused. "I'm calling because I'm in AA now. 18 months sober. One of the steps is making amends to people you've hurt. And Natalie, I hurt you badly. I know I apologized before, but I don't think I really understood what I'd done until I started working on myself. I appreciate you saying that. You were kind to me when you didn't have to be. When you could have testified at my trial, made things worse for me, you chose not to. That grace, that's more than I deserved. I didn't do it for you," I said honestly. "I did it for me, because I needed to close that chapter and move forward. I understand, and you did, clearly. The article mentioned you're married now. I hope he treats you better than I did. He treats me like a partner, like an equal, like someone who matters. Good. That's what you always deserved." Another pause. "I'm teaching now, believe it or not, at Portland Community College. Architecture basics, design fundamentals. I'll never work at a major firm again after what I did, but it's honest work, and I'm good at it. I'm glad you found something meaningful. Lauren and I aren't together anymore, in case you wondered. That fell apart pretty quickly once there wasn't any money left. I'm single now, working on myself, trying to be better than I was." "That's admirable, Derek. I mean that. Thank you. And Natalie, I know this is probably weird, but thank you for leaving me. I know that sounds backwards, but losing you, facing consequences, having to rebuild from nothing, it was the wake-up call I needed. I was a terrible person, and I wouldn't have changed if you'd stayed." After we hung up, I sat for a long time, thinking about the strange trajectory of life, how something so painful had led to something so beautiful. James came into my office carrying our daughter, Sophie. She was 2 years old, all dark curls and bright eyes and endless questions. Mama working? She asked. Mama's done working for today, I said, holding out my arms. She scrambled into my lap, all squirmy energy and joy. Who was on the phone? James asked. Derek. His eyebrows rose. Everything okay? Yeah, just closure, I think, for both of us. That evening, after Sophie was in bed, James and I sat on our back porch with glasses of wine, watching the sunset over the water. We bought a house on Bainbridge Island close enough to Seattle for my commute, but far enough to feel like an escape. Can I tell you something? James said. Always. Sometimes I can't believe this is my life, that I get to wake up every morning next to you, that we built this life together, that we have Sophie. It feels like a dream. I know what you mean. I leaned against him. 7 years ago, I was in the worst place of my life. I thought I'd never trust anyone again. I thought I'd never be happy again. And now I have everything I didn't even know I wanted. A career I love, a partner who sees me, a daughter who lights up my world, a life that's fully, completely mine. Ours, James corrected gently. Ours, I agreed. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out. Somewhere in the house, Sophie's nightlight glowed softly. Tomorrow, I had a big client presentation. James had a book launch to plan. Sophie had toddler music class. Our life was full and busy and occasionally chaotic, and it was absolutely perfect. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. The woman looking back at me was so different from the one who'd stood in a Portland kitchen 7 years ago, crying over a birthday cake that would never be eaten. This woman was confident, strong, surrounded by love, both the love she gave and the love she received. This woman knew her worth and refused to settle for less than she deserved. This woman was happy. I thought about Derek's call, about his apology, about the strange circular nature of healing. I was glad he'd found his path to redemption. I truly was. But his path and mine had diverged long ago, and that was exactly as it should be. I climbed into bed next to James, who immediately pulled me close, even in his sleep. This, I thought, this was what love should feel like. Safe and warm and like coming home. My phone buzzed one last time before I turned it off for the night. A text from Maya. Just saw the article. So proud of you I could burst. Remember when we sat in my office 7 years ago and planned your escape? Look at you now. I smiled and typed back. Look at US now. Couldn't have done it without you. Love you. I turned off the phone and the lights. Tomorrow would come with all its challenges and joys. But tonight, I was exactly where I needed to be. I'd spent 4 years making myself small in a marriage that was never going to work. I'd spent the last 7 years learning to take up space, to use my voice, to know my worth. And I'd spent every day since meeting James learning that love didn't have to hurt. That partnership was real. That happy endings weren't just in fairy tales. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the catalyst for the best thing. I lost Derek, but I found myself. And that made all the difference. The end.